knowledge. The first point is emotional release. Emotional release is really about acknowledging the emotional energy we have in our life. In society, people like to label like certain emotion as good and other emotions as bad. At ISTA, we don't see it like that. We see emotions as a charge, and certain charges have denser vibrations and other have higher vibrations. So in society, if it's you're happy, joyful, these are like very good vibrations, and people are like, okay, have those vibrations, but don't have too much of it because you might like make other people uncomfortable, right? So, and then at the other side is like these denser emotions like anger, rage, despair, so on and so forth. These emotions, society doesn't like to really look at it. It's like these emotions that are heavy and we have to deal with it. At ISTA, we welcome all the emotional of spectrum. So what we like to do in the first fourth is really work on clearing the physical body temple from emotional charge, wounds, traumas from the past, so on and so forth. We have different techniques. So that's the first part. And the concept is everything we're doing is we're trying to, we're allowing you to get deeper mastery of your power and your life force. So if you're building on top of a lot of wounds and emotional tension, well, then we're not building on solid ground. So it's vital that we work first quarter on emotional release. Second part is really about reclamation of our body and reclamation of our pleasure as a birthright. Society wants to tell you that you're imperfect. Society wants to tell you that there's some product, some program that you need to buy or do in order for you to beautify and be acceptable, to be accepted in society. Well, we're here to tell you that your body is beautiful, amazing, and divine in whatever shape, form it is. And at ISTA, we take you on a journey around really falling back in love with one's own body and really finding pleasure and happiness for being in the manifest form. And also, when we talk about pleasure, what is your state? Are you like, yes, I need a lot of pleasure, or is it pleasure, maybe just a bit, not too much, I don't feel right, or is there shame, guilt, fear? So what is your relationship with pleasure? And we are going to guide you into recognizing your pleasure as your birthright and the passage towards utilizing your life force energy in order to create the life that you want. Thirdly, we talk about the path towards personal sovereignty. Personal sovereignty is a journey where we must acknowledge that everything that is happening in our life, every situation is there for either our awakening, our teaching, or our empowerment. If we are going through life with the concept of life is happening to us, we are operating from the victim position, and there's no place that you can actually embody true life, sovereignty, freedom, and power comes with releasing the victim consciousness and taking full accountability and responsibility around your experience. And then finally, we take all of this together once we are a more clear vessel, a clearer temple, and we guide you on an experience of how to use life force and sexuality and the energy of eros to actually bring healing into your life through an amazing ceremony that goes on in the last fourth of the training. So that's basically the 4 parts of the training: emotional release, reclamation of body and pleasure, road to personal sovereignty, and finally, sex as a healing modality. And I'm now going to pass it over to Crystal Dawn, who's going to talk a bit more about the title. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Hey, Crystal.
So great. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the people who joined us a little late, Micah and Benjamin. I'm glad you're on the call. So I'm Crystal Dawn. I'm one of the lead facilitators in ISTA, and yeah, I've been involved with it since before it was ISTA, since 2007. So this training is now called the Spiritual Sexual Shamanic Experience, and so those three words are pretty charged words. So just taking off a little bit onto what Frank was saying, so the spiritual aspect has to do with this recognition of kind of understanding our true nature. And that also relates to the emotional guidance system, because how I see it is that when we're connected to what I call the true self, or our divine self, our higher self, it's actually our emotional guidance system that gives us the messages from our higher self to let us know when we're going in the right direction and when we're going in the wrong direction, so to speak. So when we're in our sovereignty, things are flowing and we have a lot of abundance and we're feeling good, then we are getting those kind of feel-good emotions. And when we're kind of swimming up river, paddling upstream, working really hard and things aren't quite working, and we often run into these more challenging, we might think of as challenging emotions, that's our true self saying that we're off course. And it usually comes down to lack beliefs. Like, what am I believing that's not true? So the spiritual aspect is really helping us to get back into our alignment with our true self, knowing how to listen to our emotional guidance system, knowing how to come back into ease, so that we can, which is another reason why our emotional guidance system is there, to help us release things so we aren't clogging up our sort of energy body. And so we're coming from a place of ease and flow and alignment. And it's not coming from any kind of a dogmatic, tradition. We're just, whatever that means for you, but it's about you finding that for yourself. But really the sense is, how do I get into a place of feeling that sovereignty with my higher self or my true self? The sexual aspect really has to do with almost reframing how we view sexuality, because even though we live in a modern society that likes to use sex to sell everything, there's still a lot of sort of schizophrenic mixed messages. Sex is good for selling you products, but it's bad if you don't do it in the XYZ way, depending on your religion, depending on your culture, depending on your family belief systems. And still, we often carry shame around our sexuality, around our desires, around our bodies, around how we want to relate with people in a sensual or sexual way. And so part of this training is really about, how do I come into a place of really owning and accepting my sexual energy as my life force energy. Because sexual energy really is the life force energy that creates everything on this planet. And so beginning with that, so how can we kind of recontextualizing what is sexual energy, and then how do I want to reclaim it in a way that feels good for me, and clear out any old beliefs that I've picked up. And there's often, we carry shame, guilt, and fear around our sexuality for a variety of reasons. And often because we've engaged sexually sometimes when we didn't want to. So we kind of work with healing all of that in various ways. And then the third aspect is around is the shamanic path. And that really has to do with becoming more aware of subtle energies and using breath work, guided visualizations, meditations, working out in nature to connect with that sort of the subtle, what I call non-ordinary reality, where we're kind of connecting with the spiritual realms. And being able to track for ourselves what's going on in our own life experience. So having a better sense of how we can notice when we're going, we're on track, when we're off track. And also, like, what is our life's purpose and what is this journey taking us, so that we can sort of stay in alignment with our life purpose or our calling. So that's sort of what those three aspects, primary aspects that we call about the spiritual sexual shamanic experience. And in some of the processes we use, I mentioned about the keys. We often call them the 3 keys of Tantra: breath, sound, and movement, which as I was a midwife, I like to think of as the first 3 things you do when you're born. You take a breath, you make a sound, and you move. So really, we're really bringing you back into alignment with your true self. Also, even this thing about pleasure, like if you spend any time with little children, which I happen to love to do, children always know how to have fun. You know, even if they fall down and skin their knee, pretty soon, 5 minutes later, they cry, they shake it off, and then they're back like, what's the next fun thing I can do? So pleasure really is our birthright. So that's the other thing. We want to help use that breath, sound, and movement that is so primal to this human experience to help us feel into our sensuality, into our awareness, and how to really connect. And I like calling it making love to life. You know, you can like plod along and work hard and try to get ahead, or you can be making love to life in every moment. We talk about really helping people. One of the things where I feel like people often have gotten off track in their lives is having the sense of how to have healthy, conscious communications. How do we share our desires? How do we share any fears or concerns we have? And how do we talk about our healthy boundaries? And how do we start to take responsibility? This idea of being sovereign means that I'm going to take responsibility for my own choices rather than projecting out there on somebody else that they should have read my mind or they should have known what I wanted. And it really puts us back in the seat of feeling that we are the one we are the creators of our life rather than sort of the victims of our life. We're just sort of on for the work going, you know, kind of on the ride. And so really getting in touch with our yeses and our nos or our not nows so that we can feel that we're making the choice of how we want to engage in whatever we're choosing to engage in and when we're not. And also really working with this idea of how do we stay connected to the body, because we live in a culture that tends to be very intellectual, so we're very mental. And so oftentimes people are spending a lot of time in their mind, in their thinking mind, and they're not very embodied. And the body has a lot of wisdom, so we want to help you get back into that sense of the body, learning how to quiet the monkey mind and listen to that, again, to that true self that knows what is in your best and highest good. And then being able to connect and feel in our heart, that heart space that creates that sense of unity and intimacy that we all long for in our lives. So we also work with that. And now I'm going to head it back over to Frank.
Thank you, Crystal. I love the opportunity to be in circle with Crystal and Lori. And every time we have the opportunity I get the opportunity to be in a training with these 2 fantastic women, it's always a growth experience for me as well. So this is what I want to be talking about as the next part is what makes ISTA special and different in comparison to other programs out there. And the first thing would be is we are really going after the topic around sexuality. We do not hide from it. We are not ashamed of it. We're not in it halfway. We're really going through the journey of reclaiming sexuality and pleasure as part of our life. Another thing we have is that we're one of the only trainings that offers 3 facilitators. And this is rare and amazing because it gives individuals, participants, the opportunity to hear and experience the same topic from different perspectives, and each one of the facilitators comes with their own set of tools, their own lineage, their own years of experience, and it all brings like this beautiful flavor. So what's really special about ISTA is that each one is an alchemical experience. The alchemical experience of the 3 facilitators and the people that are called to show up in that moment to experience with us. Another good thing about having 3 facilitators is that, number 1, you have more time with people that you can engage with on breaks and on lunchtime. You have We have a system of keeping ourselves in a high level of integrity. We have checks and balances with each other. We're dealing with the realms of sexuality. So it's like if you're one teacher, like you could get away with things. When we're with three, we are all like really paying attention to where we are. We have discussions about what's happening in the room. So we're really on top of, and tracking the energies. So that's very supportive to the process. In addition is when you come to ISTA, it's almost like, I hate to put it this way, but it's like doing a tour of duty, meaning like when you've done one ISTA, the people that you've done ISTA with become like a version of extended family. People really show up and remain in your life, especially if you connect. And the gorgeous thing is that this is happening all over the world. So when you meet somebody that has done ISTA, there's a certain understanding of the way we're going after life, the way we are consciously creating our own lives. So it's always exciting to meet ISTA brothers and sisters. And when you do an ISTA, the world opens up to you because there's a huge network that you could tap into. You could check on Facebook. The group is open. It's called ISTA Community, just to get an idea of the size. We're even having ISTA couch surfing. So you're traveling the world and you could be in one country and go on this page, and your brothers and sisters from around the world will open their door because they know you've experienced the same thing as they have, which is amazing. And so, you know, for me, like I was saying, being around Crystal is, as she said, she's a midwife. She deals in the business of life, of giving life, of bringing it into life, and really setting it out into life. So it's such a gift to have to be in a training with an individual that, number one, is grounded, centered, is always holding the room in a very safe way. Both the attitudes of Crystal and Lori handlers are alive, permissive. One of the things I love around being with Crystal and Lori handlers is the fact that these are women who are very much in touch with their pleasure and claiming their life and claiming the beauty and love that they have in their life. So being around them just reminds us to say hell yes to life. And it's so funny sometimes. I'm like the young guy hanging out with these beautiful women, and I have to remember through them what life is really about. So Lori Handlers couldn't be on the call tonight because she's in Ireland, teaching in Ireland. But Lori Handlers comes from a background of Tantra as well. So Crystal Dawn has been doing Tantra for 10 to 15 years. Lori Handlers has been doing Tantra to 15 to 20 years. So these, in my take, are two of the leading North American Tantra, sex, and happiness coaches that you can have access to. So this threesome that's coming up in September is really, really exciting, and I highly suggest that you take advantage of it. I'm just going to take one more moment to also explain the importance of choosing a training that allows you to dive deep. A lot of people have told me, oh, I've taken Tantra workshops, and they take 2 or 3 day Tantra workshops. It's really great, but for me, in my opinion, 2 or 3 day Tantra workshops are really just a taste. You're only starting to get the understanding of the subtle energy that we really get with in ISTA. And the idea of being 7 days in an intensive atmosphere where you're disconnected from your reality, where you're disconnected from the systems that keep you connected to an unconsciousness, allows you to really be present in the moment and really see the impact of being in presence and using 3 very simple tools, which are breath, sound, and movement. And staying in a container that is built to weather the storms of the emotional, whatever roller coasters are coming up from whatever shame, fear, or guilt story that is emerging. So yeah, for me, it's like nothing really compared or really gave me the depth of understanding of material until I gave myself permission to invest 7 days and surrender to a process that works, that has been working no matter what culture, what race, what language. It is, so in Tantra means to weave. To weave often opposing ideas into one full integrated whole. And this is what this workshop is, this training is about. And in the end, you will have come to a place where you will have weaved a lot more of your light and your shadow and your spirit and your animal to be and your masculine and your feminine, because this training is a lot about integrating your masculine and your feminine. So it really supports becoming the integral being and taking on life from a whole perspective of clarity and power, anchored in the heart and love. Crystal, or who am I passing it on to? I think I'm passing it on to Rick. Rick, you want to give us a bit more information about the training, where we're at, where it's at, and what offers you have for us, if there's any?
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, I'm really excited about the venue. One of the great things about being there for an entire week is that we're able to create a safe container, and that's a big part of my responsibility. And this is such a great place because, well, so in the past, did I say I'm the organizer? I'm sorry.
Thanks, Rick.
As the organizer. I started doing this because when I took the training, it changed my life, and I just wanted to share it with people. I think this will be the 7th time I've done level 1, the last few times as an organizer. But in the past, we used to try to get a house that's as big as possible, and we'd squeeze as many people in as we could, and it limited the number of people that we could have. This is just a great place because we don't have the limitation of just one, like mansion. It's the COD Ranch, and let's see, if you're not muted, please mute anybody. And it's not a ranch anymore. It's called the Historic COD Ranch. So there are no horses or cows or anything like that, but it's a large area out in nature, and they have about, I think it's about 25 what they call casitas, and they're little, almost little cabins. And there's the opportunity to have private rooms, rooms with just a couple people, multiple people. There's a great meeting area. Couple of meeting areas. There's a dining room. They have their own chef there. We'll be having basically a vegetarian sort of base food with some protein additions and things like that. But I'm just really excited about this place. So you gonna say something, Crystal?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I went out to this place a few years ago, and I said, oh, this place is perfect for ISTA because it's at the end of a road. It's surrounded by national forest. It's in the saguaros. It's at the base of Mount Lemmon. The town that's a few miles from there is a little artist community, and it's just the vibe there, like the energy there is quite phenomenal, and also has a beautiful pool, and you can just feel that it's a very sacred piece of land, and there's a lot of space to connect with the nature. So I feel like when you're going to these deep processes, that when you're surrounded by nature, it's so like nourishing to the soul to help you integrate. Yeah,
fantastic facility. I've also been out there, and it'll just be very comfortable. Very nice. You'll have a chance to be with the tribe, we like calling it, but because by the end of the week, you feel like it's a family. But then you'll also have the opportunity to go out into nature, be by yourself, integrate what you've learned. But the big important thing for me is that it's a safe container, and everybody will be there the whole week, and it'll just allow for everybody to have their experience and their process and not have to worry at all. That's all I have to say.
Wonderful, thank you. And I just want to take a few moments to just talk a little bit about both Rick and Frank. I've known them both since their first ISTA trainings, and just watching them over the years, how much they've grown, and what awesome men they are, and how much they give from their hearts. And the four of us, Lori and I and Rick and Frank, we all really like each other, and we really work really well together, and we work together multiple times. So we know that we just have this awesome team that is excited to hold a really beautiful space and set a quality of energy for all of you to enter into, so that you can really go deep and transform in whatever is for your best and highest good, so that you really, like, one of the ways that I see this training, that Des used to talk about it as, is if we lived on an enlightened planet and we wanted to, every person as they kind of reached adulthood, to be launched into the world in a way where they could live their, create the best possible life for themselves. This is the kind of training that we would offer to those, to people to launch themselves. So to me, I see that as like, if we wanted to create a more enlightened planet, then going through a week-long process like this, and bringing, clearing out whatever no longer serves us, and allowing ourselves to kind of really be able to come fully into our sovereignty and our power and our vision, we can then create the lives we've always dreamed of, the relationships we've always wanted, and the world that we'd like to live in and see our children live in, our grandchildren, our friends, our family. And that's really what the intention is behind this training, is how can we create a more conscious, loving planet. So I think now we want to take it open it up for any questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any questions?
If you want to type it, you can type it. If you want to unmute, you can unmute and ask. In the meantime, for those who haven't registered, we'll give a little special deal. We'll give a 10% discount to you if you want to register within the next day, like the next 24 hours. You can go to the website. I'm going to type it here on chat. It's SSSIP.com. But there's that. But if you want the discount, just send me an email. And it's just my name, rick@priddis.com, rick@priddis.com. And I'll type it in here as well.
So I saw Toy had a question about where the next training. So this training that's coming up in September, the last week of September, and then the level 2 is the first week of October, is in Oracle, Arizona, which is just outside of Tucson. It's sort of a little bit, it's north of Tucson towards Phoenix. So it's between Phoenix and Tucson. And then Frank and I and another fellow are doing one in November up in British Columbia. If for some reason you can't come to this one, but the offer is for this one, the one that's coming up in September.
Yes, come to this one. Let's see. I think I got my email out to everyone. At first, I only mistakenly sent it to one person. So
yes, the one that we're doing in Oracle, the level 1 and 2 are at the same location. Hope just asked that question.
Yeah.
So yes, they're in the same place.
So level 1 is the last week in September, and level 2 is the following week, which is the first week in October.
Yeah, and that will be Lori, myself, and this man Rex, who's from New Zealand, will be leading the level 2, and Frank will also be there, as well as Rick, holding space.
Yes, and I will be there. I'll be there to make sure everything's running right, and and participating where I can. And let's see. Oh, I should mention too that if you do both level 1 and 2, there's another discount. So.
Right. Yeah. And for Joel, who just joined us, welcome, Joel. You missed most of the call, but we're taking questions right now. If you have any questions, and we also, if you sign up in the next 24 hours, you have a 10% discount on the training that's coming up the last week of September in Oracle, the Spiritual Sexual Shamanic Experience.
And I recorded this phone call. Unfortunately, this is the first time I've done a group conference call, so I pushed the record button late. I forgot. So I got into Frank's first part a little bit, sorry. But I will post that on the Facebook page, and you can hear most of what we did.
Yeah. So anybody with a question, you either type it into the chat or you can unmute yourselves and ask verbally.
Micah, do you have a question?
Yeah, a couple of questions. I did it at, I just did level 1 in May with Lori and Kamala Devi and Soul Love. And beyond it was so awesome. And they said, take it again. So I'm taking it again.
Yay!
Are you one of the things I really liked is doing forum on a daily basis. Is that part of your vision?
We have another process. None of us have led the forum. I mean, I've done the forum quite often, but none of us are official forum facilitators.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that's different at each training. But we have another process we do to build, so that gives people a way to connect and deepen that communication. Yes. So you'll have an opportunity to connect.
So that's the beautiful thing about the training, is that you could do this training twice or 3 times, and every time you take it will be completely different, because the people that are leading it or driving it have a different take on the same concept and will deliver the same result just through another avenue. And that's fun when you go to a workshop, a training multiple times, and you'll hear things differently, and it might register even deeper the second time, and so on and so forth. So I'm really happy to hear that you decided to come a second time, and congratulations, because this program is a program. The way I look at it is that the training is considered like a lab. So this is, you're going into the lab, you're getting the information for the first time, you're seeing what works, you're tripping, there's minor explosions, and then you're having the eureka moments, and it's great. You take all of that, you go into the real world. The real world is very different. It comes with you at different shapes and different angles. And then you get to a place where you're like, okay, I feel like I've used these tools and I need a refresher. I need to be able to go deeper into these tools. And by doing it a second time, you go in and you're back in the lab, you're back in the training field, and you could test new concepts or things that you were a bit too timid the first time, and so on and so forth. So it's a real great opportunity to get your hands back in the lab and try some new things. So good on you. Congratulations.
Yeah, and Mike is actually taking both 1 and 2, so that's great.
Oh, awesome.
And,
that is great.
And where each facilitator has their own way of presenting this, it's still the same core thing we're teaching.
Core curriculum, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I also want to just mention that the other factor that makes a difference is like each group has its own kind of group chemistry as well that has a flavor. And that's what's exciting for me as a facilitator. It's like each time you show up, even though you're covering essentially the same materials, the focus varies somewhat depending on the chemistry of the people and the place and what's moving for us individually and as a team and in the world. Right. And so it's very, that's the other thing I love about ISTA is it's very alive. We call ourselves an organism, not an organization, because we're very alive and it's constantly evolving. And as, you know, as the vibration of the planet's shifting, we're always, you know, saying, how can we meet it even more fully, more authentically, more transparently. Did I answer your question, Toy, about the facilitator? Did you see in the chat?
I'm trying to unmute it. Yes, you did. Thank you
cool.
very much. I appreciate it.
Right. Any other questions?
So if it's going to be vegetarian, are meat things excluded from? Can we bring our own things? Those of us who felt protein deprived at the last vegetarian thing.
So Rick, can you answer that question?
Yes. I was sorry, I was typing an answer to somebody. You can bring your own food. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have meat and fish options, aren't we?
Yeah. So it's going to be a base of vegetarian / vegan, and then we'll have add-ons. So the way I like doing this, and the way I've asked the chef to do it, is it's sort of what would you call it? A buffet kind of style, where instead of just having the whole meal presented to you, you can take what you want and leave the rest. So we'll have all of the vegetarian kind of stuff, and if you want to add a meat, a protein, you can add that. So we're trying to take care of everybody. If you have special needs like gluten issues or allergies, that sort of thing, then we can address that as well.
Yeah, so let us know if you have specific food needs. But neither Lori or I are really vegetarian. We both like our protein, so I know we're going to have protein that's going to be meat or fish, or at least chicken and fish.
I always like the experience of taking this week or two to try the vegetarian, because I feel like if nothing else, it sort of clears out all my bad things that I eat, and I have a chance to kind of reset. But if you have specific things that you want to bring that aren't going to require special handling, then go ahead and bring that. If it makes you feel good to bring those.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, stuff that doesn't need to be refrigerated, canned salmon or something for protein hits.
Yeah, that would be fine. I think we'll have everything covered, but if you feel better bringing something, go ahead. Yeah.
Can you tell me how many participants are signed up for 1 and 2?
We're expecting about 30 participants for each level. At the moment, we actually have about 22 for level 1 and 25 for level 2 actually registered, but there are several people who are, they've been sent an invoice, waiting to get those, initial payments sent in and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm expecting, is about 30. And then in addition, you have the facilitators and myself. Yeah. It's a good group. I think 30 is a good number.
Yep. Any other questions from anyone? Joel or Benjamin? Hope?
Okay.
No questions here. Just really excited. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Sorry if the music's really loud, but yeah, super excited. Don't know what to expect, but you guys come highly recommended. I have like 5 friends all around the world that have done it, so I'm just really grateful.
All right, Hope. Well, I look forward to meeting you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure.
Wonderful. Yeah. So we're excited. We're looking forward to this training. It's going to be an incredible couple of weeks. It's also really exciting to do a 1 and a 2 back to back, because we get to, some of the people go all the way from 1 into 2, and then we get even the deeper content. Like, some of us really like going deep, and I happen to be one of those people. So like, to have the idea that we get to go deep for 2 weeks is very exciting. So glad to have this opportunity to do 1 and 2 back to back. Yeah, and we're really excited to have you all there. I hope if you have any more questions that come up, you can always message us, or send a message to Rick, and he can get it to us if for whatever reason you can't get to us directly. And in my experience, and I've done a lot of workshops over the last 30 years, I guess, this is one of the premier workshops that's offered, and it's well worth the time and the money to. And it's really a transformative process. And I was just with several of my apprentices in Phoenix last weekend, and I was just marveling at how much they've all blossomed since they took their first ISTA trainings over the last 2-3 years, and how it's just beautiful to see how much this transforms how people live their lives, and how much they're willing to just open their hearts and give their gifts and manifest their dreams, and that's what's so beautiful about this training. So I want to thank everyone for showing up. I want to thank Rick for organizing the call, and thank Frank for joining us from Montreal, and just want to say Rick and Frank again, they're awesome. And Lori's amazing. I'm sorry she couldn't be on the call, but she's off teaching ISTA in Ireland, which they really need it in Ireland, so I'm glad she's doing that. So any last questions before we close the call? We're happy to answer whatever you might want to throw at us.
Yes, thank you all for coming and joining us. And I love working with Crystal, Dawn, and Frank, and Lori.
So yes, thank you very much. And I want to say to anybody that's on the fence, anybody that's still not 100% hell yes, I just like to say it's like, part of the law of attraction is choosing yourself. You know, if you're not going to choose to put this investment and take this step towards betterment or personal development, then you really can't expect people from the outside of you to want to be investing in you. Start with investing yourself and see what you're going to magnetize. And I guarantee with the work that we're doing here, we're operating in the realms of non-ordinary reality, and how to really manifest things from the ethers, from the energetic world, using all that we've learned with our breath, sound, and movement, our connection to source, and so on and so forth, to actually bring in the manifest realm the desire, the life and things you want to be manifesting. So I'm really excited to be seeing you in a few weeks from now. It's on, the countdown is on. Laurie Handlers will bring you a no-nonsense approach. Crystal Dawn will bring you very deep understanding of spirituality. I'm always amazed. I think she's one of the most gifted teachers in the world, bar none. I'm not joking about it. She was my teacher, and everything I know I owe to her. And with me, you'll just get a very passionate being that wants to inject everybody with a lot of fire and a lot of heart and a lot of love. And together we're going to alchemize magic. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and listening to us and giving us your time. Much appreciated.
And I want to say Rick's going to he's going to make sure we have everything we need in the way of the food, the environment, the workshop space, the venue. And he's got an incredible heart, and he's such a caring person. And it's really nice to have a team that you totally know that we all have each other's backs, and we'll have your back. And you can come just surrender into your process, and really whatever the intention you come with, I pretty much can guarantee you're going to get it, get that met. So I'm excited to hopefully get to know all of you better very soon.
Yep. If you have any concerns or questions, just email me.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Peace.
Bye. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Nice to meet you, Toy.
Nice to meet you, Crystal.
Nice to meet all of you. And I'm looking forward to meeting you soon, Micah. Bye, Hope. Bye, Joel. Bye, Benjamin.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.